Greg, I'd like to ask this question of my co-hosts. What's in your earbuds these days? What are you listening to?
What am I listening to?
Is it music?
I just listen to a lot of mixes.
Podcast? Mixes? All right. Okay.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of Spotify radio, band radio.
Band radio. So, for example,
we throw on Collective Soul Radio, Bare Naked Ladies Radio.
And you'll hear songs from those bands plus their contemporaries, I'm guessing.
Plus their contemporaries, plus bands that Spotify has figured out people that like those bands like to hear.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it's way more than it is specifically. That's why when you ask me that, it's kind of hard to say because it's not like we put on a specific band.
Yeah.
I will probably do that more than Kelly will.
Okay.
Like I will throw on, just Cake and Shuffle Cake, but then we also throw on Cake Radio.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, so I went for a walk after work today.
I figured this was a setup to get to you, so that's why.
It's not always about. It's sometimes about me. Okay. No, but I thought of the question because I usually will catch up or listen to a podcast on my walk. And today, for some reason, I said, no, I don't want to listen to people talking. I want to hear music.
Yeah.
And so I thought, should I play the Welcome to the Music playlist, which is songs from our guests. I said, no, I don't want to listen to that. But I do want to listen to a former guest of ours, Crownlands.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I want to hear some rock. And so, so I just listened to 30 minutes of Crownlands on my walk. So
the band I did listen to today was that I really delved into. Delved?
Yeah.
Delved.
Yeah, delved.
Some word. Really got deep into listening to Tongue Helmet today. Our past guests.
Tongue Helmet, Danny Miles.
Yeah, that's a really funky sound. I said to Kelly on our walk, I'm disappointed I didn't listen to more of it before our conversation with Danny. And she said, well, then maybe that's Danny part 2. I thought that's a perfect idea.
Yeah.
We could and particularly maybe once COVID's over, we could get the band to come and do some songs at Radical Road.
It's Tongue Helmet.
Hi, the following podcast is brought to you by Radical Road Brewery, the best craft beer in the heart of Leslieville. Find them at 1177 Queen Street East. That's Radical Road Brewery.
My name is Mike, and I am one of the vocalists in Bad Breed.
My name is Katya, and I'm also one of the vocalists in Bad Breed.
My name is Maylin. I am the bass player from Bad Breed.
And welcome to the music.
Perfect.
All right.
Welcome.
Here we got it there. Awesome.
Welcome to the music. All right.
Yeah. So thanks for doing this. This is I think this is going to be interesting. This is going to be fun. Because as Greg will attest, we've had multiple guests on, but not on multiple cameras. So in post, Greg is going to have 5 feeds to go through. Yeah. So this is awesome. Let's start off this way. Let's start off with your latest album, Ferocious Love. I hope I got that right. Is that correct? Ferocious Love was the latest?
It is. Yeah.
There you go. Were you showing me your arm with the name of the
No, album? I was going to scratch, and then I decided that you could also see my arm.
That's it right there. But
I do have the name of the record on me, but just it's actually here. If you can see through my jacket, Greg, can you see this through my jacket?
I can.
Very good. It says Ferocious Love.
So congrats on the album. Mike, tell me about you're one of the singers, but correct me if I'm wrong, you're the main songwriter?
I'm the lyricist, yeah. So
you're the Neil Peart of the band.
Yes. I played drums on the record, and I did the lyrics. So yeah, do you just want to hear about how we kind of started this particular project?
Yeah.
Right.
How you got to the album?
Well, I had quit doing music for a number of years. I just had sort of decided to myself that was the end. And, I'd been in, a few different bands before, and there was an earlier version of Bad Breed. And I had a couple of rough years, and that kind of culminated in, I was with the same person. I'm just going to, since you asked, I was with the same person from the age of 15 till the age of 45. And, we met as sort of childhood sweethearts or high school sweethearts. And she died in 2017. And that was kind of after a prolonged period of the two of us dealing with a lot of mental health and emotional difficulties and all kinds of different things. And that, during the last couple of years of her life, I spent a lot of time sitting on a couch, beside her, engulfed in unhappiness and misery, not with each other, just with, dealing with our own mental health problems. And after that happened, I was starkly aware that I was suddenly a single parent of a 17-year-old daughter. And I realized that I didn't have a choice anymore. I know doesn't sound like it would be this simple, but I couldn't simply just sit on the couch anymore and just hope that life went by quickly. So I went back to the one thing that I always felt confident at doing, and that was music. And so I started, it was almost, obviously it wasn't the next day or anything like that, but within months I had thought to myself, what can I do that will get me up every day? What could I do with myself that will get me starting to feel more like a person again, or whatever a person is, And so I started writing some lyrics, and I got together with Maylin. Maylin and I had known each other, many, many years ago. We were in a band together, and we hadn't kept in contact, regularly, but I just thought I had this concept where I'm going to do a record with, I'll do one song with one person that I've made music with before. I'll do another song with somebody else that I've done music with. Because that's all I thought I could handle was sort of like a one-on-one thing. Like I thought I could sit with Maylin and do music. I don't know if I could just sit in a room with a whole bunch, especially not like 4 or 5 guys, doing like punk rock or something. I just couldn't, that just wasn't where my head was at. So yeah, it was a slow process of just, hey, Maylin, we haven't talked for a long time, but how would you feel about writing a song with me? And that's how we started this record. And a lot of it was done that way. The song As Promised, which is, the start of the second side of the record, if you have the vinyl. I wrote that with Catherine, who sang on our record. She's a great vocalist, and Catherine Wilson, so we did that together. And then at the same time, I was doing everything concurrently. And then I'd sort of flip over and say, hey, so Maylin, I've got this idea for this song called Animal Impact. I had a bass line in mind, and Maylin's a great bass player. So we started doing that. And then Oscar, who plays guitar on the record, I said, I have an idea for another song. So anyway, one day it was just like, well, why don't we all meet together? Because it just took time. It took time for me to just sort of be comfortable, getting back into a rhythm, getting back into the world, getting up every day, going out, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And you said you wanted the long version, right?
No, this is great.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
It's a long way around saying, hey,
yeah.
So that's how it started. And we eventually got 8 songs together. And during that time, this is this is long period of time. I mean, this took months and months, into a year. And I met somebody and, eventually fell in love with someone else later on, and so that became part of the record as well. It became this is where I was, and the combination of, ferocious love of another person and music and the love of these people that I was so lucky to get to work with to put this together is how we got the record.
And this was when were you sort of writing and recording this? This was pre-COVID, right?
Yes. Yeah. So the record was, we finished mixing the last song for the record. I wasn't even able to go into the studio. So that was done at the very beginning of COVID, I think around April.
That's what I was wondering in terms of timeline. That's what,
Yeah. So we started writing at the very end of 2017, because I've gone back in my, my notes, like my, notes on my phone and gone like, Jesus, that's when we started. So, the first little bits of lyrics were the end of, December or January of 2018. And, and it was mixed and finished at the very beginning of the pandemic and officially came out in late summer 2019.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. Mike, was it you missed music, or was it you needed and you believed that this process of writing and recording was self-therapy for you?
Yes. Yes and yes. No, I didn't miss. I don't think I missed music. I missed feeling like I was capable of connecting with other people, and I'm not, again, I started my first band when I was, 15 years old, like my first proper band that played shows. I met my first wife. Her name is Deb, and today is her birthday, by the way. We all wanted to just say happy birthday to Deb. Today would have been a big birthday for Deb. So, we're all happy to be together doing this today. So, we met when I was 15 years old. We met. She introduced me to punk rock. Like if I hadn't met her, I'd probably, and this isn't a criticism of living in Pickering, but I'd be living in Pickering, listening to Led Zeppelin, I don't know what I would be doing, but you get the idea. We met at a job that we did. It was like an after school job. You started at 6 p.m. on Friday and you worked in a newspaper factory, putting the Financial Times together until about 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. So you'd be there for 12 hours. Anyway, we met there and she asked me if I'd ever heard of the Stooges. And I was like, no, I don't. Who are they? Like, I know the Three Stooges. So she would start bringing me records at work. Anyway, I got into a punk rock band thanks to her. I met, there was one punk guy in school that I'd see walking around with safety pins all over his jean jacket. And I felt, one day I was just, hey, I think maybe we like some music that's the same. So we started a band together. And so, but I guess to make a long story short, I don't know if I'm capable of that, but to make a long story medium, all of my socializing from that age was done through music or with my girlfriend who became my wife type thing. I didn't go to bars and, things like that. I didn't feel comfortable hanging out with a bunch of guys unless we were doing something. You know what I mean? I needed to be like, yeah, man, let's hang out after school. But let's work on these songs. It was just, I don't know what it is, but it was just something. So I missed that. And I missed to answer your question, I realized that I missed music after I started writing the songs, but absolutely, again, I don't know. I would have found something else to force myself back to, waking up out of a stupor, but I'm glad it was this. I'm glad it was music. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I got a question for you. I want to go back to Pickering, your comment of Pickering. I grew up in Whitby.
All right.
And so I'm not sure, when you would have, the years you would have gone to high school, but I was wondering, were you ever involved sort of, or around the Oshawa sort of punk scene, like the Star Club and places like that? Because I have a lot of great memories from hanging out at the Star Club.
I'm not sure what our difference in age is, but in the early 90s, I played in a band called Grasshopper. That was like a Toronto kind of grunge rock band, and we would go out and play in Oshawa. I remember we played, and you'll remember what this is. There was a roller rink that people played shows at. What was that?
You know what I'm talking about? The Purple Onion. That was the old.
It used to be I definitely played the Purple Onion. To answer your question, yes. In Pickering had its own weird little scene, right? There was literally there was a pizza place called Pizza Pino's. Yeah. That was like a tiny pizzeria that would let you put on DIY punk rock shows on Sundays. Nobody paid anything. We would just, So I'm sure there was some crossover there. Yeah. So late 80s, early 90s, I was playing in those.
I was mid 80s to early 90s.
Okay, cool. So right around the same time.
Yeah.
I want to ask Maylin a question. When Mike came to you and said, "Hey, do you want to write a song together?" He'd been out of music for a few years. Was it an easy yes for you, or was it something you had to think about? Tell me about that.
I didn't have to think anything about it because Mike and me, we worked before in the previous version of the band, and even when we didn't see each other for a very long time. He was that kind of friend that you don't have to see them every day, but the connection is still alive. So, let me tell you exactly. We didn't get in touch for a while, for years. Like the last time I saw Mike, it was at my son's baby shower. And then I see him again when my son is almost 12. So for a very long time, we didn't keep contact with each other or anything. And I learned about Davis passed away on Facebook. When I see someone who puts a comment, and I see and right away I say, "Hey, something happened to Debbie. I don't know what it is," but so I wrote him an email, and he answered right away. I said, "Hey, Mike, I know we haven't talked for a very long time, but I see something on Facebook about Debbie, and I don't understand what's going on. Whatever it is, I would like to know." And then he's when he tells me, Debbie passed away. So I told him, "Okay, man, I'm right here. If you want to talk or get together, just let me know." And I remember that maybe the next week we got together, sat down, talked, and it's when he told me about the music, and I didn't have to think about it. I said yes immediately. First of all, because I knew he was going through rough times, and I know what music can do for us when you're going through rough times. And I know that Mike is used to collaborate. So for him, collaborating in a musical project that will bring a lot of healing to his life. But at the same time, I needed some healing for myself because I was doing a master's at the university, and I was almost completely removed from music, just doing studies. So even my own life was calling for music. So I think it was a perfect timing that everyone needed music to heal. And that's why I didn't even think about it. I said, yes, let's do it. I'm very busy, but I will make time for this and let's do it.
That is awesome. So you're the bass player.
I am.
In the band. I'm curious, Mayfield, do you have any bass players that you look up to, that you model yourself after?
Well, I am a fan of funk.
Ooh. All right.
So for me, I would say that I have a big one is Jimi Hendrix. That's a big one for me, but because I also like the way he's fire on stage, and it has to do with my personality. I play the bass, but I'm also fire on stage. So yes, I look up a lot to Jimi Hendrix, and I would say that, and then Mr. Brown as well. Even though I have to tell you, I grew up in Cuba. Cuba is a communist country, and we were banned from U.S. music for a very long time. So I didn't grow up knowing anything about U.S. music. However, when I came to Canada and I started looking at all these guys, I was like, wow. And one more thing. I used to play bass in Cuba, but salsa, not even rock or funk or anything like that. But I always had that feeling inside me that funk music always called my attention because it's fire. For me, funk and fire is like the same thing. So yes, I would say that Brown and Jimi Hendrix, those are the big ones that I look up.
It's interesting because I mean, you know, in doing research and listening to your music, I mean, you know, it's described as jazz, blue, punk, funk. Like there's so many influences that come through your music. Is that and Maylene, I don't know if that's like, is that something that everybody brings, or like Mike, was it more, did it evolve into this eclectic, I wouldn't say cacophony, but it's an amazing sound mix. You know what I mean?
I love the word eclectic for our music because that doesn't put us in one category. And I think eclectic is a word that is fair to describe our music. And yes, it has a lot to do with a different background, with a different information, with our different musical story. Like, for example, I was trained in the classical as a classical singer. So I have a lot of classical information in my head, but I also have a lot of Cuban information in my head, and Latin and African. So when I play my bass line, all that comes, it comes out. Then Mike has his own punk rock stories. And right now, we even have the piano player, which is also classically trained. Mm-hmm. So I would say that the beauty of our work is that we are able to respect everyone's story, musical story, and we take advantage of it. So that might be the reason why when you listen to our music, you can see that it's like the marriage of a lot of sounds and stories. Sure. And even we had Oscar Chang on guitar. He's Asian and he loves blues. And so I think, yes, all those stories, they come out in our music.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome. I want to go to Katya for this next question. You are the newest member of the band.
Okay, yeah.
Tell me about joining the band. What was it? An easy decision for you? What were you doing? You know, prior to I'm guessing Mike giving you a call.
Well, it isn't Mike that gave me a call, actually. Oh. I know Mike. Well, eventually, yes. But who put me in contact with the band, and I got to know Mike. I'm very happy for that. By the way, is Mylene, because Mylene and I, we studied it. We did our master's degree together, and we collaborated on a musical project I had that was more jazz, and that was linked also to Cuba and other projects. And I was going through a kind of life change. I'm from Montreal, and I moved to Toronto permanently. And And that's how I was able to reconnect myself with music, was through Mylene, that we reconnected at a certain point. And then she invited me to go see some Bad Breed shows. So this is like in pre-COVID times. And, I would go there and take photos and just and I really liked their music. I loved the energy on stage. And then what happened is that I received a record player from Montreal. And then Mylene's like, oh, we have a vinyl. But I have a vinyl, but I can't really play it. I don't have a record player. So I'm like, hey, come on and let's play it, And I was like, wow, because I heard the music on stage, but I didn't listen to the whole album. And I found it was a really great album. And I hooked up onto that. And things happened that they needed a singer. And Mike, I think you listened to one of my songs, video. And then they thought about saying, hey, Katya, do you want to come and sing with us? And I'm like, yeah. So I'm very happy about that. And of course, I'm not in the rock punk aspect, but I listened to rock, punk, and grunge when I was in my teens, and all Gen Xers did, anyways. But then I turned to jazz. So I like jazz, I like blues, but I like everything fundamentally. So, but yes, what I bring to the band now that we're more rehearsing for future live shows or what we're doing here with you is more the jazzy type of tones, the jazz chill out things.
So it's interesting when you talk about joining the band and now preparing for, hopefully we're all going to get a shot and get out and be able to hang out together and play live music and be around each other. Mike, I think I heard an interview or read an interview and you were talking about I think it was almost a year ago to the day was the last show that you did when everybody thought my wife's a teacher. We thought we were heading out for March break and shit got real fast. And so can you sort of talk a bit about that and sort of that?
Our last show was March 8th, 2020, International Women's Day. We had, we played at the Linsmore Tavern, and it was a great show. I felt like we were on this roll. We had played this kind of series of shows, and we got to that one, and I was like, man, I feel this. I felt it. I felt, being close to people, holding, literally what I picture about that show is reaching out and holding people's hands and singing right in their face, and, that seems like a distant memory at this point, but, you guys all remember holding hands, right? So, it was, I was just like, man, this is going great. We had a series of shows that were set up and then they fell like dominoes. So yeah, it's a goddamn shame. For not just because we can't play shows, just to, in case things differently, but well, I remember thinking wow, that sounds like I was actually I was in New Zealand for December of 2019 for that month because my current wife lives in New Zealand, and we got married in December 2019 and in New Zealand. And I remember, we'd listen to the radio every day and go, man, that sounds hard. Whatever's happening in China, that virus doesn't sound good, And turns out it wasn't for everybody, we came home and did a couple of shows. So yeah, you miss it, like I said, I disappeared from it. I came back. I was like, I'm ready, everybody. And then, just like everybody else, COVID came along and said, you're not ready right this second. So, well, we will be. it's cool. I mean, it's cool in the sense that when we do get together, like Katya was saying, we have, and Maylin mentioned, we've got a new piano player. His name is Denzel, and he's bringing he's a classical pianist. He loves Chopin. He put a post yesterday on Instagram asking everybody what their favorite Chopin piece was. And I answered by skipping over it because I don't know. I don't have a favorite. They're all my favorite. No, I mean, I'm just saying, so he's a young man. He's still in his teens, and he's a dedicated, amazing piano player. So Katya's got this jazzy voice, Denzel's a beautiful piano player. So we're just like, okay, what do we do now? Let's, as you said, like one day we'll hopefully get a shot of something and well, at some point and we'll play again, and it's going to be great. So yeah, but yes, who knew on that fateful day on March the 8th, we're just like, I remember it well. It was a great show. It was my favorite of the ones that we had done as this version of the band. So we ended on a high note. Yeah.
It's interesting because it could have been that weekend, and I was just a block over at Red Rocket grabbing a coffee, and I remember.
Why didn't you? What happened?
I don't know. I didn't. I should have been there. I know.
Why didn't you walk by like the chalkboard on the side that said Bad Breed and like blue chalk and go like?
I know. I walk by it. I walk by it every weekend, a couple times a week. So yeah, but I remember reading the Toronto Star as the paper was just sort of sitting there while I was waiting for my coffee. And I remember that one of the virologists, one of the doctors, one of the people way smarter than I can speak, obviously, referred to it as the Gretzky of viruses. It's not the most lethal and it's not the most contagious, but it's the one sitting behind the net getting ready. So it would have been, I'm sure it would have been that weekend. It had to have been March 8th if I think about it. Anyway.
I read the same thing. It said that it also mentioned that the virus has a side part. Is that correct? Yeah. All right. Yeah. We both read the same thing. Anyway. So yeah, I mean, listen, I remember, so we were, we played that show. Of course, our next shows got canceled. I remember my wife whose name is Amanda. Hi, Amanda. She was supposed to be here for the month of April. And I remember getting a very tearful phone call, like a couple of days after that show, just saying they've canceled flights. Like, I can't come. And I was like, that's okay. Like, it'll work out. Like, maybe in May you can come. And, we're still waiting. Right. So, wow. Yeah, we're still waiting. Wow. We got married and had a great time. And so, yes, we are currently at month, 14 or 15. So yeah. We'll get there eventually.
Wow, I assumed when you were telling that she was here. So
no, nope. No, she just texted. I could see a text pop up during the Zoom call that said, "I'm going for a coastal walk, sweetheart. Have a great interview." So she's out on the coast in Wellington, New Zealand, having a walk in the sun because it is summer there.
It is,
and we're having our own little bit of sunshine with you guys.
Wow. I'm so glad to hear that the Linsmore Tavern is still open. My dad used to have a dry cleaners across from the Greenwood subway station for many years when I was a kid, and I'd go in on a Saturday afternoon with probably $4 and be able to buy a burger, fries, and a Coke and watch Maple Leaf Wrestling or WWF Wrestling
right
on a Saturday afternoon. So
that sounds like quite a Saturday.
Oh, I loved it. I think my dad lost money every time I came in and said I was helping him out.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I guys, I don't know. I hope it's still open now. Like, I hope they've been managed. Like, I hope they've pulled through. I don't know. Let's hope.
I don't know. I haven't, knock on wood, so far when I walked by, there's been no signage saying anything other than that. So.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I wanted to ask you this question, Mike. We have a theme and I should have told you this before, but might as well catch you off guard and get some fresh thoughts from you on this one. We have something that we like to call lost venues, where we talk to our guest about a favorite venue that they've played in, whether it's one time, maybe it was their first time playing. And so I'm curious if there's a favorite place that you used to play or that you have played that isn't around anymore. So they're a lost venue. So I'm curious if there's one of those for you.
There are lots, right? Because I mean, if you play long enough and they start to disappear. There was a place called the Niagara Cafe. I don't know if you guys remember that, if that rings any bells. It wasn't a big place. It was at Queen and Niagara. That was with my very first like punk rock band as a teenager. That was our first big like downtown show, and it happened to be the same night that Courtney Love and Hole played. I think they played the Rivoli, and I loved them at the time. And my girlfriend at the time was just like, I guess I'm going to come see you guys. But, I was like, you don't have to. I mean, like, I want to be at the Rivoli seeing Hole as well. Anyways, so Niagara Cafe was our, because again, we talked about, I was from Pickering. So came down, I was the drummer. I was the singing drummer for that band. And the venue had a riser for the drums.
What was the name of the band, Mike? Sorry to interrupt.
It was called Goat Dance. It was a horrible name, Goat Dance. Yeah.
All right. Sorry, go ahead with the story.
Yeah. If you need the cassette, just let me know. I'll drop it off at your place.
Okay.
So no, that was my 3-piece punk rock band. Heavily influenced by like Husker Du and Sonic Youth and I don't know, a whole bunch of punk rock stuff and new wave stuff. So I was like terrified because it was downtown. I don't know. Like, I was very, very shy at the time and I was very nervous, and there was a riser. I remember it was carpeted and it felt soft, like when we walked up, I was just like, I wonder if this is wet or whatever. Anyways, after about 4 songs, all the wood was, I guess, just rotten, and it just fell out from under me, and my entire drum kit just folded over, and all the microphones just broke, and I was just like humiliated. We were in the middle of playing, and then everything disappeared out from under me, and I remember I was just sitting on my, like laying on my back because I fell off my stool, and I was like staring at the ceiling going like, I can't fucking believe that like I'm not watching Hole, like that I'm laying on the pile of rotten wood. Anyway, so
that's punk though. That sounds like a punk thing to happen.
It
was a very punk thing to happen.
I will say, just on a side note, I don't know so I played, again, I was playing in a band called Grasshopper. We were playing, have you guys ever gone to Detroit to see shows? Like, I used to go to Detroit quite a lot. No, yes, no. The answer is no.
You've been, Greg, haven't you?
Yeah, Greg.
Not to Detroit.
No, Greg, he didn't. He told you he did, but he didn't. We were playing in Detroit at a place called St. Andrew's Hall. We were opening for a bigger band, and, it was our biggest show that we'd ever played. Like, there were 1,000 people there. And for me, whatever, that's a lot of people. And my bass drum beater flew off in the first song, and there was no bass drum. So we were playing, so it was just all low end. And the drummer from the band we were opening for ran up and he was like, "Hey man, do you want my?" I was like, no, I got it. I twisted it back in. I was like, "We're good." And then it flew off again. I couldn't kick him out. I couldn't make eye contact with him. So there was no bass drum for the next 22 minutes. And yeah, so sometimes things don't go the way that you hope that they would. But anyways, that's so there. Yeah.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned St. Andrew's Hall because I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's still there. Yes. Yeah. So I think the reason Kareem was thinking of that was, for our anniversary, for my wife's and my anniversary on the 17th last year, we were supposed to be there to see, I believe, Silver Sun Pickups. And obviously that got canceled. And so maybe that's why Kareem was thinking I'd been to Detroit, because he probably knew we were going to that show.
Kareem, you've got a great memory.
Somewhere in
you
there.
You remember his anniversary.
He's my social convener. I mean, he organizes everything for me, and then just I organize it for my wife, and then just tells me, and that way I know.
Did you get them a suite at the Marriott for that night? Or?
Oh, it was the best. I lost a ton of cash just on the down payments. Damn COVID.
Yeah. Oh, COVID. Yes. So St. Andrew's Hall, nice big venue in good sized venue in Detroit. So there you go. But yes, Niagara Cafe is the one in Toronto that I have, because that's a vivid memory. Like, how often you lose your whole kit while you're playing. So yeah, that would be.
So what happened? So it falls through the riser.
Yeah.
You fall down.
Yes.
Do you just pick it back up, put it somewhere else, and start playing again?
No, because we were like. One of like 4 punk rock bands, and the discussion came up. Like, I started picking my stuff up and pushing the other 2 guys to the side of the stage so I could be in the middle. And the other bands just came up and they were like, by the time you finish setting these drums up and remiking it, it's going to be time for our set. And I was like, right, great. Good night, everybody. Like, thanks.
Oh,
the Rivoli's that way. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, no. So that was the end of the show. I don't know if we played 3 or 4 shows, 3 or 4 songs, excuse me. But no, that was the end. Yeah.
Is there anybody from Goat Dance that's still around in terms of they're still doing music? They're still in bands or producing? Yeah.
100%. There's Jim, who is the guy, the said punk rocker with the safety pins up and down his jean jacket. Right. He and I have another group that I play drums in called Beast Music. So he also came back into my life at this time. When I was reaching out to people, I reached out to him. I said, like, let's do a song. That turned into its own project, and just to make, and I'll quickly tell you this because it's fascinating. You're going to love it. He's an English teacher out in Port Perry. And he mentioned, so we were just jamming, and, again, we were in our first band together, and he had stopped doing music for, while I was still doing stuff and, that kind of thing. So we got back together. It was like we'd just seen each other. It was terrific. And he said, one of my old students is like a great poet, and she moved to the city. And anyways, she became our singer. So we have like the high school teacher, the student, and then, myself and a couple, and our friend Ben. So yeah. So yes, the answer is yes. One of them is absolutely still doing music, and he's doing it with me. Although we have not seen each other officially since, I don't know, March of 2019 and 2020, excuse me. So yeah.
That is nuts. Malin, back to you. Katya said that you invited her to come in, be a singer in the band. A lot of singers in this band. Why was it necessary to recruit some more singers?
Well, I would say because in the album we have Catherine singing. It's Catherine and Mike and myself sometimes in some songs as well. But then Catherine moved on to other projects in her life. And I could have stepped up and do the singing and playing the bass, but I was so busy. I'm still busy. I'm doing my PhD now. I did my master's and now I'm doing my PhD. And I said to Mike, it's going to be faster if we get a new singer that just sings than me, because, singing, doing lead vocals and playing bass, it requires a lot of coordination. So I said to Mike, because I thought also that we would play shows live. I think like as everyone else, I thought that, no, this COVID situation is just going to be 1 month or 2 months. We're going to be back on stage. So I said to Mike, we need to get a singer right away to be ready for shows. And that's why I thought, no, we need to get another lead singer, which is Katya. Because vocals is is a core of Fabric as well. I don't know if you noticed in the album that we all sing in the album. So for us, the vocals, harmonies, we're very interested in that. So yes, I think 3 singers is what makes the balance in Fabric. So that's why I said I called Katya. I said, Katya, please join us. And also I like the fact that we like to keep the 3 singers with 3 different styles because that gives us versatility. So Katya comes from the jazz world, Mike the rock, and I am something in between.
What are you doing your master's in, by the way? Sorry, is it your master's or your doctorate? Your doctorate.
Okay, I did my master's in Hispanic studies, and I'm doing my doctorate in Hispanic studies as well. For my doctors, my research, I am researching the community of Cuban musicians in Toronto. So I'm trying to establish a connection between emotional intelligence and the development of and professional development of Cuban musicians in Toronto.
I was trying to find, I picked up a record the other day from a Cuban band or a duo. They were actually guests of ours. sometime in the past year. Was it Okana?
Okan.
Okan. Oh
Yes.
yeah, my friend.
Yeah.
They're
Okan.
awesome.
They are two girls, and they are married, and they are my friends. We are really good friends.
Yeah,
That's
we
awesome.
had a great conversation with them. It was so lovely to speak to them.
Yes,
But,
I know who they are.
Yeah, for sure. I'm guessing
Elizabeth. That's Elizabeth, and I don't remember the name of the other one, but Elizabeth plays violin and sings at the same time, and the other one does the percussion.
Yeah, that is awesome. Katya, you come from a jazz background. Tell me about getting started in jazz. Were you always in jazz music? Were you always singing jazz, or was your history in music more diverse?
Well, like I started singing more, taking vocal jazz classes. Before I had of course, I used to sing other stuff. I have listened to a lot of different musical styles. So it's not that like I was born in jazz and then I decided to sing jazz. So jazz came at the beginning of the 21st century. So I took some jazz classes. I was in jazz combos in Montreal. And eventually I did an album where I combined jazz with other things, influences to modernize them.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And then now, that's it. So I'm bringing this experience to the band.
You're classing up the joint.
Yeah, I'm doing that. While doing a PhD as well, like Mylene.
Are you studying the same thing as her, or?
I'm specializing in Cuban literature.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. So we're kind of in the Cuban thing. Yeah, both of
fantastic.
us.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that we like to ask our guests, I want to throw it around the horn, is what's in your earbuds lately? What are each of you listening to? Maybe we could start with Maylene. Do you want to start? Just what are you listening to lately?
It might sound selfish, but lately I listen a lot to Bad Breed music because I'm listening a lot to Bad Breed because we are always reinventing ourselves, and through the pandemic, we have been doing a lot of acoustic versions to stay alive because we've been playing streaming shows. So lately, I listen a lot to our music just to come up. Like, for example, we are going to apply for the Canadian Music Week, and we have to do a 3-minute version of Not in My Life, which is usually a 5.5 minutes. So, like, for example, I had to listen to the music several times just to come up with a simplified version of the song. So yes, it might sound selfish, but lately what I listen the most is to our own music to improve and to make different versions of our own songs to try to stay alive during the pandemic.
Interesting. Different arrangements that. Katya, yourself?
Me, well, because I've recovered my vinyl collection. Of course, I'm listening a lot to Bad Breed because I have to learn the songs and bring my own vocabulary to it. So that's it. But that's that aspect I'm doing. But yeah, it's funny to say, but I'm listening to Rolling Stones, and I received like these records, like Rolling Stone records. I'm gonna listen to some Bowie. I'll listen to Joni Mitchell, which is for me my model and my source of inspiration when I want to write songs. Did I say Pat Metheny? Yeah, maybe. Or anyways, I listen to varied music, but it's because I'm like coming back to my my vinyl record collection. So I like to listen to a bit of everything, and of course, stream and check out what's happening also on the rest of the planet.
Are you exploring new music through the streaming, which is interesting because we actually on our pre-show we're discussing Spotify banned radio and different streams to be exploring new music.
Yeah, there's some online radios that I'm exploring the music, and you're discovering all these bands. So yeah, so it's good also, I think, to check out what other people also are doing. But it's also good to go back in time and listen to the classics or things that you really enjoyed when you were really younger, and then you say, okay, maybe that's how I got a certain vocabulary or certain influence. And then there's the project right now. So the idea is to blend everything. Yeah.
Nice. And then Mike, yourself?
Well, on my record player right now is Santana. I love Santana. I listened to that. I just moved into a new place and I set up my records and I set up my little tiny weight set because I don't know if you guys heard, but the gyms are closed. So, yeah, I listened to Santana and lifted weights last night and it was terrific. And I'm listening to Miles Davis, John Coltrane. And I drive a lot. Like for work, I drive rideshare right now. And so I listen to community radio in Toronto. I love CIUT-FM. I don't know if you guys ever checked that out, but anyways, it's the U of T station. So there are shows on that, like that are, some nights are, some shows are all funk and soul and some shows are all blues and rock. So I listen to the radio constantly. And then, I will hear something from there that I'm just like, well, why have I never, ever heard that before? And then do what everybody else does, find it on streaming and do that. But yeah, I've been listening to, a lot of jazz recently, but like a lot of like instrumental stuff. Miles Davis, John Coltrane, that kind of stuff. Just to go back, like you guys were talking earlier about the idea of having eclectic sound and things like that. I think that just like listening to what everybody's listening to, it's interesting that for me, like to try to create something sound wise that we're doing sonically or what we're trying to do, is finding those things that, because I played in the past in sort of like all guy, punk rock, it's loud and we all kind of dress the same. Well, I definitely know those guys are listening to, whatever it is, the MC5 or whatever else I'm listening, and it's cool, right? Like, it's cool. Like you kind of come in and like you're gang and you're doing that thing. Like I've been in bands like that. But what I like about this is that, one of the million things that I love about doing this with all these guys is going like, so, okay, Katya, where do you come from? Okay, cool. So you're from jazz. Like, I mean, where is that, the whatever it is that I want to hear in what we're doing, where's that? Because there's hard stuff. Like, I mean, in James Brown, I mean, you know that obviously if you've listened, I'm sure you guys have listened to James Brown. That's hard, man. Like that's hard music. Like, I mean, hard driving, bang, 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 right? Where is it in, in hip hop? Where is it in jazz? Where is it in reggae? Like I've been listening to a bunch of like this group, the Congos, right? That to me, like hard doesn't have to be volume, right? It doesn't have to be like distortion. It doesn't, I'm probably stating the obvious for everybody, but I think I find that where is the power, like power in the sense of emotional power in the quiet moments in what we do, right? And so when we're scaling things back volume wise with a piano and three voices and bass, how do we still do things that light the room up or light me up, right? Because that's most important, like for me, it's not the most important. You know what I mean? I have to be thrilled, right? Because if I'm not thrilled, then somebody sitting, if you are watching me, you're not going to be thrilled. Chances are. I mean, unless you're also gaming at the same time, which is possible. You know, I don't think you guys game, but you know, people multitask these days, right? So, you know, but anyways. I know you didn't ask that question, but I just wanted to
no, it's great.
circle back
great.
around because it's interesting to me to hear what these guys are listening to. Denzel's over there. Denzel, what are you listening to?
I'm listening to.
Can you hear him? He said,
over there.
Stand right here. Yeah, this is Denzel. I'm going to bring his head into the shot. Is that okay?
For sure.
I have to do more in post. Greg, what?
Hello.
This is Denzel.
Hey.
What are you listening to?
What am I listening? I'm listening to a lot of concertos recently. So Rachmaninoff concerto, Chopin's concerto, number 1 and 2. Very.
Come closer. Yeah, you guys
kids
know,
don't like being on camera.
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of classical romantic music because that's just the type of music I love to listen to.
See?
That's awesome.
Now goodbye.
Nice.
Okay, yeah. No, thank you for coming on. But this is what I'm saying, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't matter whether or not I listen to that or Joni Mitchell, which I don't. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter because what is the magic that everybody else gets from all those things?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We're trying to make magic, guys.
That is nice. Katya just threw dagger eyes at you when you said that piece about Joni Mitchell. So be careful.
I'm just throwing it out there. But that's the beauty. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you like with a lot of rock bands, it's like, especially when you're younger, there's like a cachet in the kind of music that you listen to. Well, that's not cool. If you know, they threw out the original bass player from the Sex Pistols because he listened to the Beatles. I mean, that's a great reason to throw somebody out of a band, but I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, you guys are like,
no,
but do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of that, and that just doesn't matter to me. I mean, I guess it probably did at a certain point. You know, however,
no, I was thinking about, because like, you know, you mentioned MC5, and I thought about all of my buds, and we all converged on the Danforth for MC50 a couple of years ago, and it was that's why when you said that, I chuckled, because it's like, there's all of us. Yeah. Old guys that listen to punk rock back in the day that are hanging out and listening to some great tunes.
And that's amazing, right? Like, but that's the thing. But no longer for me is it important. Like, it doesn't matter to me what Denzel listens to, you know? I mean, as long as he's happy and as long as he can bring a feeling with him to what we do, right? For me, it's all just about what are we doing? Oh, that's cool. Like, I didn't know that Rachmaninoff had 2 parts of his. Okay, he's saying no. I got it wrong already. But the point, you know what I'm saying, right? None of it matters. None of it matters as long as together we're we're making starting with me and us. If we feel something, hopefully somebody else will.
Yeah. This has been a fascinating and a fun conversation. I want to thank all of you, Katya, Malin, and Mike. And Denzel for making a surprise appearance. Really appreciate it. People want to find out more, want to listen to more Bad Breed. Where and how can they do it?
Well, you know, we're on Instagram at badbreed_band. And then from there, you can go to everywhere, Spotify and Bandcamp and et cetera, et cetera. Our videos are on YouTube, you know, Bad Breed Band. And we've got a website if you want vinyl. Oh, I should mention this. We made a very small run of vinyl for this album for Ferocious Love. We are not selling it per se. We are giving it in exchange for a $20 donation to a charity of your choice. The record came out during the pandemic. Of course, the plan was to have it as a merch thing at a merch table. But suddenly in the middle of a pandemic when everybody's struggling, you know, Black Lives Matter needs money. Food banks need money. Everywhere needs money, right? So if you do listen to us and you're interested and you have a record player like Katya does, and you'd like some vinyl, make a donation. Just send me a screenshot of where you sent it, and I will ship it to you at no charge to you anywhere in the world. So
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask about that earlier. So thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
That is awesome. We're gonna pimp that out on social.
Do it
for sure. Mike, so we want to hear some live music. I know you've prepared something. Are we going to attempt to do something? Are we going to use the live version you sent me? How do we want to do this?
You're going to use the live version that I sent you only because it's been disastrous trying it on Zoom for us. The sound has been, the sound is horrible.
That's
and
fair.
I prefer if you had something that was, that sounded good. So if you're good with that, then I'm good with that. We are good.
scared the string was gonna break because one did it earlier on. I was just like,
That was good.
We did it. We got it.
Yeah.
We got it.
That
All
is
right.
awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Mike, Katya, and Malin.
Ciao.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys
for
both. It was
joining
very
us.
nice
Thank
to
you
get a
for
chance to
having
speak
us.
to you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye,
Jim.
guys.
Bye.